welcome back to the Cars.co.za YouTube channel. I am Ciro. This is a 5-door Suzuki Jimny, and there's been a lot of excitement about this car. I've been looking forward to driving it, and I think you've been looking forward to hearing about it. So you've come to the right place. But what I've been trying to understand with the Jimny, and I live in Cape Town and we shoot in Cape Town, is why they are suddenly everywhere. Like everywhere. The other day I was at a robot, there were 2 in front of me and 1 behind me, and I thought it was an ambush. So let's dig into this. Let's try and understand what's going on here, because to me right now this doesn't make sense.
Cars.co.za.
With budget insurance, there's no back and forth. You claim, we pay.
Okay, so I don't know if the rest of the country is like this, and you guys need to tell me in the comments, but here in Cape Town, the Suzuki Jimny has become very trendy. It's become like the it car. It's like the car that you want to be seen in. It's seen as this cute runaround, and so you see them all over the place. Particularly, there's another one, we're up to 6 while we've been filming. So you see them all over the place, in town, on the seaboard, and I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people like to go for cold plunges these days. That's also very trendy. So they go and swim in the sea or in rock pools at like 6 in the morning and freeze their asses off. And if you go to one of the cold plunge areas, you will see about 23 Suzuki Jimnys with people getting out of them in towels or getting back into them. Now look, I kind of understand why this has happened. I really like the design of the new Jimny. It's a cool looking car. It's a great looking little car. It looks like nothing else on the road. It's really got that going for it. But at the end of the day, the Jimny is a proper 4x4, and nobody is using it as a 4x4. Not anyone I know. It's certainly not many people in Cape Town around where I live and in the city. And that is a bit of a problem. And let me explain why. The Jimny is not very good at anything else except 4x4ing. So, for instance, it's very narrow and it has very soft, long travel suspension. And this means that you go around corners hanging on for dear life. Another problem with the Jimny is it doesn't have a lot of power or torque. So 75 kilowatts, 130 Newton meters. If you're not a car nerd and you're not really sure what that means, in summary, it's not enough. If you're on the reef in this car, even if you're on your own in the car, but if you're fully loaded, 4 people, lots of luggage, you are not going anywhere in a hurry. South Africans need to drive on highways. We do a lot of highway driving, and this car at 120 is not great. You almost feel yourself wanting to slow down so that, you know, you can choose life. Wow, okay. It's so bad. The steering is incredibly vague, and the steering rack is so slow. You have to put in so much steering input just to turn a corner. Honestly, it's that was terrible. Okay, let me illustrate to you what this car is like through corners. Alright, so here's an on-ramp. We need to do a 90-degree right. Whoa! And now a 90-degree left. Well, you know, I'll give it credit. It is really exciting to drive. You know that old saying, the closer to death you are, the more alive you feel. That's pretty much the Jimny. Look, if you're cruising around slowly, it's fine. It does things okay. But if you're at 120 on the highway and there's a crosswind, even if there's not a crosswind, and you come up to a corner, it is very exciting. It's very exciting driving this car for all the wrong reasons. Now you may be asking, but Ciro, is it better than the 3-door? And the answer, in terms of dynamics, the answer is yes, right? In terms of practicality, the answer is also yes, because the 3-door is a completely useless car. It's very cute, but it's not very practical. So now you actually have 4 usable seats, and they are very usable. And you have a boot which is almost tripled in size and can actually fit things like suitcases in it, for instance, which is nice. But at the end of the day, this still feels like a Jimny. It's very narrow, it's got very soft suspension, it's got very high sidewall, skinny tires. Dynamically, it is rubbish. And the thing is, it's not the Jimny's fault. This is a brilliant car in another setting. If you're driving through deep mud, if you're on sand dunes, if you're trying to climb up a mountain over some rocks, this is the car you want to be in. There's this great saying in the 4x4 community that everyone's been embarrassed by a Jimny, and I have been embarrassed by a Jimny. I was in a Ford Everest, I got stuck on the top of a dune, and a Jimny came and pulled me off. It was very emasculating. They are brilliant off-roaders. One of the reasons why they're such brilliant off-roaders is because they have a proper low-range transfer case, which means that you have the torque multiplier effect, so the little bit of torque it has doesn't really matter, and you can basically drive in and out of or over anything. These are wonderful 4x4s, but all the things it has that make it a wonderful 4x4 make it terrible in the city, and this is why I just don't understand why it's become so trendy and such a popular city car. The good news is, however, that in 3 to 5 years' time, there's going to be a bunch of Suzukis on the market which have never been off-road. So that's going to be cool for you and me and maybe other people who want a second-hand Jimny in 3 to 5 years' time. Do you know what this is like? This is like if you took a Romanian power lifter, you know those guys who are like as wide as they are tall and they can lift 300 kgs above their head, and you ask them to do the 100-meter hurdles. That's pretty much what the Jimny is trying to do in the city. It's about as graceful as a Romanian powerlifter doing the 100-meter hurdles. That's pretty much what's... Oh, here's a corner. Whoa! Woo! Okay, that's very exciting. Oh, more angle. More steering angle. Okay. All right. We're fine. We're okay. We made it. Alrighty, so that was about 10 minutes of me complaining about the car. So let's go through some good points. It's very economical. A little 1.5 litre non-turbo motor seems to sip fuel. You can easily get into the 6s. We're averaging 7.1. We've got a little bit of a heavy foot, I suppose. So 6 something to the 100, I think, is actually pretty good for a little car like this, especially considering you have all-wheel drive. Although it's not permanent all-wheel drive, you can run it in 2 high, which is what I'm doing now. Some credit I will give to the car though is it feels very, very well built. It feels very solid. Everything underneath me feels very heavy duty and very well made and very fit for purpose, which is basically to be a springbokkie and climb up mountains over rocks. So it does feel like a quality product. It really does. 480,000 Rand for this top spec one, although you can get into a base model manual 3-door Jimny for about 380, 100k less. Now that gives it some interesting, another one, that's number 10, that gives it some interesting competition because the Renault Duster is pretty much exactly the same price as the Jimny. And it feels like a Jimny could fit inside of a Renault Duster. Now, the Duster doesn't have low range, but that's probably not too important to many people. But it has double the torque of this car, so it's going to handle loads and lots of people a lot better than the Jimny will. The boot size is about quadruple the size of the boot in the Jimny. But the thing is, even though it's more practical, and there's another one, 11, even though it's more practical and it will be more frugal because it's got that great diesel engine, you just don't, it doesn't have that appeal, right? Am I right? I think I'm right. It just doesn't, the Duster doesn't have the cool factor that the Jimny has at the moment. And that's, I think, what people are paying for right now. Let's talk about the interior, which I really like. It's massively improved over the previous generation Jimny, which felt pretty cheap and nasty, to be honest. Although people don't buy these cars for the interior, but, well, off-roaders don't. I think city slickers maybe do. And it does have a really nice interior. It feels well put together. The plastics all feel pretty high quality. In this GLX model, you get the nice big touchscreen with the new infotainment system. I like the orange dial set into the square sort of instrument cluster. Very, very nice. The switchgear feels pretty solid. The aircon's freezing as well. You've got automatic climate control, electric windows all around, electric mirrors. I really like the leather steering wheel. It's a nice interior. It's a very cute, very practical, very impressive little interior. Nothing wrong at all with it. One of the things you first notice when you get in a Jimny is how narrow it is. Like, if someone designed a cooler box for two people to sit in, I think it would feel quite a lot like this, because one shoulder is touching the plastic door and your other shoulder is touching your passenger. I'd love to get like two rugby players in here, like Eben Etzebeth and Ciro or something, and just put a GoPro on the windshield and just film them sitting in here. That would be very, very entertaining. But no, it's properly narrow. It must be one of the narrowest cars that's legally on the road. But you can just adopt the official Suzuki Jimny driving position, which is this. There we go. That's how you give yourself some elbow room. It is a bit better than the previous generation, but not by much. I always forget where the window switch is. I'm actually pleasantly surprised by how much space there is back here, because from the outside this car looks tiny, but you get inside and there's way more space than you would expect. It's like a woman's handbag. I mean, look at the knee room. That's my driving position. Headroom is not amazing. If you're 6 foot and more, you are going to bump your head. What's quite nice though is the seat backs have two positions, so you can get a bit more of a relaxed angle. There are only 2 seat belts, so legally you can only sit 2 people back here. You've got electric windows, and then when it comes to drinks holders, those 2 are kind of in the back, but they're also the only drink holders for the front seats. So I suppose all 4 of you can just arm wrestle for who gets to use those. Welcome to Cape Town, where 6 seconds ago there was absolutely no wind and now we're being blown away. But I wanted to tell you about the Jimny's boot, because that's a very important thing. So here is a piece of our crew stuff. I don't know, it looks important. And that sort of gives you an idea of how big the boot is. Now handily, these do fold, very easy to fold. Nothing's very far away in a Jimny. Now they don't go flat, but as you can see, that does make for a very, very large load area. Your spare wheel is of course on the back of the car. Underneath here are your tools, but top tip, this chipboard is not very strong, so do not drop heavy things on here because it will crack and go straight through down to the tools. And then one nice little touch is you get a light over here, and you do get a 12-volt thingy. You don't get a parcel shelf as standard. You actually have to order that as an optional extra, but a proper parcel shelf is available. Let me pretend like I'm driving in another province that's not the Western Cape. All right, here we go. Pothole, 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 ah, pothole, pothole, pothole. Oh wow, that was exciting. That's the opposite lock there. Yeah, dodges potholes okay. You just have to be aware of the fact that you're going to roll around a lot. Bodyroll.com. Okay, wow, it's been a really adrenaline rush. Probably the slowest adrenaline rush I've ever had in a car. So I'm sure Suzuki is absolutely stoked with how the Jimny has been received. And also they've sorted out the supply issues, because in the beginning, when the new 3-door came out, they literally couldn't build them fast enough. I remember speaking to a dealer, and his words to me verbatim were, "You do not understand how much of a up this is at the moment. They had customers putting deposits down and they couldn't get cars. So that's been sorted out, which is good. But that was actually a global problem. They literally just completely underestimated the demand for this new generation Jimny. So you can get hold of them now. We just drove past a dealership and they looked like they had about 10 on their showroom floor, which is good. And I do think, in summary, the 5-door is the better car. It's just easier to live with. It's way more practical. It looks just as good as any other Jimny. It is a bit more expensive, obviously, but not that much more expensive. And you get so much more car. So if it was me, if I was trying to decide between the 3-door and the 5-door, I would choose the 5-door. I hope that helps in some way. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be offensive to anyone who buys this car and doesn't take it off-road. If all you want to do with your Jimny is drive to a Sea Point rock pool and go for a cold plunge at 6 a.m. and freeze your butt off, and it makes you happy to do that, then by all means, please enjoy yourself. I'm of the opinion that all cars cost money, all cars break, except Suzuki's actually don't break that much, which is nice. Another one, that's 14. And so you might as well buy and drive the car that makes you happy. And I mostly get why this car makes people happy. And that's a lovely thing. It's a really cool thing when a little car with 4 wheels and it's not terribly unaffordable and it puts a lot of smiles on people's faces. And I appreciate that about the Jimny. So however you use your Jimny, I hope you're enjoying it. I'm a little bit jealous. I do quite like these little things, but I would never ever commute in one. There's another one, 15. Thank you very much for watching. If you're looking for a used Jimny or a new one or a demo, there are over 360 on our site right now. There are nearly 3,000 Suzukis on our site right now. So head over to Cars.co.za or we'll put the link to that stock in the description below. I hope you find the car that you're looking for. And if you don't have our app, it is the best and fastest way to go through all 75,000 cars on our site, and you'll find all the links to all the different apps for all your different app stores in the description below. Right, I'm Ciro this here. Now, this has been a lot of fun. I really like a Suzuki Jimny. I wouldn't use one in the city. Okay, bye. Cars.co.za. Not only is Cars.co.za the best place to find your dream car, but it's also the easiest place to sell your current car. Check out the sell car section on our main website. Simply list your car's details and all of our dealers will take bids on your car. You just choose the highest price. Boom, your car's gone. On to your next one. Right, thanks very much for watching the video. Okay, I think I'm done. Yeah, I'm finished now.
All our Cilos and Archies deserve insurance that pays out.